I'm just going through in particular C, D and E because there's an issue here that we've got salesperson's commission of 5% of sales. That means sales price. So we need to work out what the sales price is, and we have 500,000 euros is going to be earned if we sell 20,000 units. Divide those two in and you end up with 25 euros. So the sales price is 25 euro. So any time that we have in any of these scenarios here, so the what if scenarios that we have, which are the questions, anytime the sales price is going to change, it means that the salesperson commission, which I've highlighted here in red, a salesperson commission is going to change. And if salesperson's commission is going to change, it means variable costs are going to change. And we need to take that into account when we're actually doing the calculations. So if I just have a quick look at doing part B. Now, I'm not going to do the maths of working it out. What I'm trying to do is take my formula. So if I just highlight that formula in red. So each time I'm just trying to put the numbers into the formula, and so that we understand how we'll go about then working out the rest of the question. So for part B, calculate numbers sold 2008 if they're going to increase in their profit by 15% over the 2007 figure. So and assuming selling price, everything else remains the same. So that means that sales price is going to be 25 euro. Take away variable cost is 11 times Q. So Q is the unknown that I'm looking for. And take away then from that our fixed costs. And I always find I have to go back and read these again just to double check. It doesn't say anything about fixed costs changing, so that therefore fixed cost is going to be 125. Equals and one increase net profit by 15% over whatever. So the current figure at the moment is 150. Put the wrong place. So current figure is 155. That's the current profit we get from the question, and then we'll add on 15%. So we'll work out what 15% of that is and add it on. So I presume you can do the maths from that one. So that should be straightforward enough. If we move on to C. Okay, calculate the profit make if we reduce selling price. So now we're changing selling price, so therefore our variable cost per unit is going to change because selling expenses is going to change. Okay. Now we're going to reduce selling price 22 minus and decrease fixed cost. Okay, so if the selling price was 25, that means selling expenses is 125, so that's 5% of 25. So if it's 22, 5% of 22 is 1.1. So that means that our variable cost is going to go down from 11 down to 1085. So I'll just go through it again. 25 euro for the current selling price times 5% is 125. So if it becomes 22, then this selling expense is going to be 1.1, so it's going to be 1.5 or 0.15 less, which means the total is going to be 0.15 less. So we'll have 1085 goes into that times. I'm going back and I'll have to read the question again. So all of the cost levels are the same. So it says nothing about changing the sales number. So the quantity is still going to be 20,000. Okay. Take away our fixed costs. We're going to decrease our fixed cost by 16. They're currently 125. So that means fixed cost becomes 109 equals profit. So work that out, and what's left over is profit. Okay. Next one. Move on to D. So calculate selling price. So again, we're looking at trying to work out selling price, and our variable cost is going to have to change because selling price is going to have to change. So if I put this in, so selling price that's going to be the new selling price minus, we'll put our variable cost in a bracket, okay, as we normally would. So what's going to go into this bracket? Okay, so I'm just going to leave that there, and then we'll multiply by. But working out what goes in this bracket is complicated. So I don't know what the selling expenses is going to be because I don't know what the selling price is going to be yet. So all of the selling expenses except for that. So if I take that number out, I'll get the variable cost per unit excluding the 125. So I'll end up with 975. So that's €11 total minus 125, okay? And I'm going to have to add on to that 5% of SP, whatever the selling price is. Now, if I take that box now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and see, can I get rid of this internal bracket that we have here that's got a variable cost in it. So selling price minus all of this. So 975 plus that means if I take away this bracket, we have a minus and a plus, so that means it'll end up being a minus. So I'm going to take my bracket away now. So I lose that. So this ends up becoming a minus 5% of SP. Okay, so your selling price minus most of the variable cost and minus another bit of variable cost, this figure that's unknown. So if I put those two together, they're 1 SP and minus 0.05 SP, I'll end up with, in brackets, 0.95 SP. So that's the previous SP, take away 5% of SP. So 0.95 SP minus 9.75. That multiplied by volume of sales going to be the same, so that's 20,000 minus fixed cost. Fixed cost increased by 20%. Fixed cost was 125. 20% of that is 25, so fixed cost now becomes 150. Equals fixed cost increased by 10%, profit by 10%. So profit is going to be 155 plus 10%. And again, you work that one out. So moving on to E. Calculate the number of units we sold at 30 to provide profit of 14% of the sales revenue. Okay, so if I go back up to this, so the sales price will be 30, which means 5% of 30 is 150. So that's 20.25 more than this. So your variable cost is going to be 11.25. 5% of 25 is 125. 5% of 30 is 1.50. So I'm going to add 0.25, the difference between the two of them, onto my variable cost. So I'll end up with 30 minus 11.50. Sorry, 11.25. Sorry. So that's that 125 has gone up to 1.5, which is 5% of 30. So that goes up by 0.25. So that's where 11.25 comes from. Okay. The units must be sold. So Q is the thing I'm looking for. Minus fixed costs. It doesn't say anything about fixed costs changing. So we'll go back to the original fixed cost that we had, 125. Okay. And that equals. The profit is 14% of sales revenue. So sales revenue is sales price multiplied by quantity. So we get 14% times sales price, okay, which we know is 30, times quantity. And we're going to work that out. 14% of 30, we'll put that on as a Q, so that multiplied by Q. And then we'll subtract it, we'll bring it over to the other side and subtract it. We'll end up all the Q's on one side, 125,000 the other side, and that's how we should be able to work it out. Hopefully that makes sense.